Hello and welcome to FTB Sports. This is the post-match reaction show for the game Brighton v Spurs. Brighton 1, Spurs 0, and joined again by my guest, Mike, Darius. I would say how you doing as I normally do, but I guess I know how you're doing. Mike, tell me about that. Just please, whilst I just compose myself. I've got a beer here, so I'm going to have my beer as we speak, because other than that, I've got nothing to celebrate today. So, Mike, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't even know where to start. Let's start with the lineup. Sanchez and Sissoko on the right-hand side. Again, I don't even know what to say. I honestly don't even know what to say, because there was just no balance. Like, with Sanchez and Sissoko, who neither of them are naturally sort of not right wing backs or right backs, whatever you want to call it. They're not. That's not their natural game. So I know Doherty played badly in the previous game, but if you need a right back or a right wing back, give Doherty another chance, at least in his natural position. We were careless in possession. We didn't. Well, how many shots do we have in goal? 2, 3?
We had 8 shots and we had 4 on target to their.
No, that's more than what I thought we had.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of flattering.
It's just. I don't know. This is our blip. I said this before we came live. This is definitely. We're going into our blip now. Yeah, words fail me on this. I honestly. There's so much wrong with today's game that I honestly don't even know where we can begin. Vinicius should have started.
There's so much. It's just hard, isn't it?
Yeah, there's just too much.
It really is difficult to kind of even go through that game and understand what was so wrong about. If we analyze the start, as you said, look at the starting lineup. And I was always concerned when I saw Sissoko and Sanchez. I didn't know how they were going to start the formation. I thought possibly could Sanchez be playing at right back, maybe have Sissoko in the middle and then be a 4. But then the more I thought about it, I thought, no, I think he's going to be a 3 at the back with Sanchez in that defense alongside Rodon and Alderweireld. And it started off with, as I said, with that 3 at the back. But what was so confusing with Sanchez started off on the right of the 3, then he went to the center of the 3, then he went back to the right of the 3, and then the back of the set. So it was all over the place. And him as a player is going to be just chasing and it was no cohesion. There was nothing. There was no link between the defense, the midfield, and the forwards, because, as I said, because you've got a flat 2 in the middle with Hotspur and Ndombele, they kept dropping deeper and deeper to get the ball off the defenders, who would then lump it forward, and the forwards weren't able to hold the ball up. And then when they did try to play through midfield, all Brighton did was have more numbers, so they didn't really have a central striker that just played up top. They just flooded the midfield, so we just kept on trying to play through the middle and outnumbered. At sometimes it was like 4 against 1, because, as I said, Hotspur kept dropping in, and then it was just left with Ndombele trying to beat 2 lines. It was just a right mess, and you can only blame that on the manager. The players will then take some responsibility for just the way that they performed. There was no urgency at any point. Darius, I'll come to you. You give me your thoughts on this. We've got some comments coming through. I'll put the comments as you're talking.
I'm kind of okay. Let's talk about the preview. So the preview, I said 2-1. I was kind of confident. I was looking at the game. I was thinking, if we match Brighton formation wise and energy wise, we should be able to beat them, because our quality should outshine them. They don't really, and if you notice in the game, they could have scored a lot more goals. They just don't have a very good goal scorer. I mean, that goal, I think it might be McAllister who had that shot that Alderweireld made the absolutely amazing block against. Any other really basically good strikers scoring those goals, I mean, it's pretty unforgivable, this game. I'm not happy at all, but I just don't really care. I'm past the point of caring. It's one of those where if I complain and I ask for something different, I'm not going to get anything different. So I have to look at. Go on.
I was just going to say quickly before, just there. I think the only two players that had a decent game was Rodon and Toby. I thought Toby, he should have been playing against Liverpool. Why he didn't play against Liverpool?
It was just like you said, Mike. It was unbalanced from the start. I mean, when you're playing 3 at the back or 5 at the back, however you want to look at it, you have to. If you're playing 3-4-3 and you've got 2 centre mids versus 3, you have to find that creativity somewhere. If you're going to sacrifice a midfielder for a centre back, creativity has to come from somewhere else. And that normally in teams that play 3-4-3 comes from their fullbacks. Our fullbacks are Ben Davies and Musa Sissoko. I wasn't confident from the start. If I tell you that, I have no confidence. It's like Ndombele can do what he can do, but we've mentioned it. They are about 5 or 10 yards further back from where they should be. So if you have a double pivot and only you're playing a double pivot of 2 in the middle, they have to be further up the pitch for them to make a difference. There's no point in playing 2 in the middle and having them basically just off the 18-yard box. That's the issue I had. And then even when we changed it and we tried to put a player in that 10, it wasn't a designated specialized 10. So there wasn't really anybody covering that space in the middle. And Ndombele still couldn't find anybody to pass to and link up with. So he was. I think Sam mentioned this to me. He was having to beat 2 blocks, 2 rows of defense to try and get into any sort of attacking position. And it's just, I can't blame him. He can do so much, but you can't do everything. And if he keeps relying on these individuals and their talents, it exposes Jose kind of, because it's like when your talents start depleting, what happens then? Look what Graham Potter did. He had a system. He realized that we've got shit fullbacks. He said, let's flood this midfield and let's bully them in the midfield because they have 2. They might have 2 good midfielders, but there's only 2 of them. Bissouma was an absolute beast. And then he had 3 players around him just to help him link up. And that's all it was.
Which we said this in the preview. Sissoko, it would be ideal if Sissoko played in that more centrally to counter that threat. But what he should have done, why didn't Tanganga go at right wing back?
Why didn't Doherty play? Why didn't Doherty play? Why don't you just start the guy who plays right back? I know he's not playing well, but we played 3 at the back. The guy was at Wolves for 10 years, basically playing as a right wing back. So even if he's not in form, he plays as a right wing back. We started off with 3 at the back. Start the guy in his natural position. Play. I don't care if he plays Sanchez in centre back then, or don't play Sanchez. Play Alderweireld, play Rodon, and play Dyer or Sanchez.
Because that's where your balance is. That's where, and Doherty, even if he's not in a good form, it gives us balance. With Son and Sanchez on that right hand side, there's no balance there whatsoever.
Just none.
Let me just get this comment in. Pipe 71. Listen, we have a squad of utter dross. Let's be honest, it's a legacy of Eric and Levy, and until these leeches have been driven from the club, we will not get anywhere. There is some truth in that, but we have to also look at. I'm also going to look at Jose today, and again, I looked at Jose on the game on Thursday. We're lauding up, and I've been lauding up this mantra that Jose is a specialist tactician, someone that can come in and see things and change games. He did nothing to stem the flow today. When you see the formation as 3-4-3, and it was a flat 3-4-3, and then if you try to have one of your forwards come into that 10 role, they kept on rotating. But none of them, as you mentioned earlier, Darius, none of them were a dedicated player like Ndombele.
Like Smith Rowe's come in, or just any number 10.
If you played Ndombele in that 10, he has more license to be able to come back and go forward because he's got the ability, the talent. I saw Bergwijn time to do that, but he's not a midfielder. So that aspect of the game, particularly when you're dropping so deep, which we were because they had control of the game, means that 10 has to be able to pick the ball up a little bit deeper, but have the foresight to be able to look forward in areas of the pitch where you're going to hurt them. Ndombele does that. The other forwards, Son trying to do that, that's not his game. Harry Kane has been doing that for us all season. That's why we missed him today. So when you haven't got the creativity of Ndombele higher up the pitch or Kane to be able to drop from the 9 to the 10, we have a problem. There is a massive hole because Højbjerg wants to drop into the center of the 2 centre backs and dictate play from there. but that's so deep into play that we cannot then create further up the pitch. It was all kinds of things going off today. I'll just go through a few more comments. So just adding with a smiley face here. Spurs are one-man band. Without Spurs, they're nothing. So I guess that's without Kane, they're nothing. So he must be there. Kane are nothing. We've got Marlon here. Midfield was outnumbered and not play Vinicius from the start. 100%. We should have had Vinicius from the start and then bring back Ale's. Another comment here. We've got Tepper back again. What performance was that? Jose is going to mess up your club. Jose is doing things that's a bit strange at the moment, but he's going to blame the players, no doubt. We've got some more comments here. Charles William, do you think Klopp has broken Jose's hold of your squad and they no longer listen to him? What do you think about has there been elements of the recent results that's caused Jose to maybe go at some of these players, the players having to go at each other? Obviously, there's some truth now with regard to this Aurier situation at the halftime on Thursday. He wasn't even in the squad today, and it just lacked that penetration. As you said, the penetration from the fullback, the wing backs in the first half was non-existent. Yeah. Non-existent.
It holds everything up. I mean, I think it's hard. I don't know the majority of Spurs fans' intentions going into the season. Again, I don't know what Spurs fans wanted from this season. Me, I wanted a trophy, so I'm prepared. I'm ready. I'm willing to take this journey. I don't really know what we were all expecting. However, things aren't going right. We've lost our main player, Harry Kane. Now I want to see this pragmatism, this lauded, like you said, this quality of Jose that is literally his main standout point. And I want to see this actually being put to use now, because again, I said this in the Liverpool game, we go from a 5 to a 4 in the second half, but nothing changes on the pitch. Formations don't mean a thing if you're not going to change the way you play on that pitch. It doesn't matter if you play 5 at the back. I've seen teams play with 5 at the back and play much more attacking football than us because they fly their fullbacks forward and it's basically 3 players. Leeds sometimes play 3-5 at the back, and look at them. It doesn't matter your formation; it's how you approach the game. So, again, sorry.
I honestly don't think, even if we had Kane playing today, we could have had anyone playing today. We wouldn't have done anything. We'd have still lost today.
And
our lack of urgency. Our lack of urgency was frightening for me. I'll just go through a couple more comments. The voice might be a good thing to go through blip now before end of season. All teams go through a blip. Was lost due to tactics or players' form. It was players' form. Some players are just not good enough, and I think no matter what form you're on, some players are just not good enough. Sissoko isn't a wing back. Sissoko, as I've mentioned on a number of occasions, is a filler. He's a spot filler. When you haven't got some. Well, not even a squad player, just someone to fill a position, just a body. Milner. He's a body, and when you ain't got, when you're playing Sissoko from the start as a right wing back, I'm thinking to myself, when the guy's in midfield, what does he do? His attributes are he picks the ball up and runs with it. But yeah, when he's playing wing back, the time I want him to pick the ball up and run with it, the guy's running 5 yards and then playing it sideways. He's just not attacking enough. There's no threat. It's like they're scared to get in that final third and do something positive until the last 10 minutes of the game, where we had a couple of opportunities. But even then, the amount of players that they had to try and bypass to get shots off a goal was just, I expected Brighton to defend like that, but I didn't expect us to not have any sort of urgency. Charles Williams, what trophies do Spurs fans think they win this season? Do you think you make Europa Cup place? Well, everything's up in the air at the moment. You've seen the results today. Leicester lost. Everton lost over the weekend. Liverpool are on a bit of a march now, but the top teams, it looks like they're striding forwards. Obviously, United had a bit of a blip as well, but Man City looking good. I think Liverpool have turned the corner. All teams have gone, as you said, Mike, all teams have gone through a bit of a blip this season, but our blip seems to have extended just a little bit longer, because although the stats would say that we've maybe only lost 4 in 22 games or something like that, it's the amount of draws coupled with the defeat. If you have a defeat and then you win, it's not too bad. A defeat and a draw and then another draw is no good. And if you follow that up with a loss, which is what we've been doing, it's getting really, it's irritating from the perspective that there's so many players in there that we all look at and think to ourselves, they should be playing. Why wasn't Vinicius starting? Tell me that. You guys, can you answer me that?
I think he's earned his spot. Do you not think? Well, this is my question. Do you think he's earned his spot after that 45-minute cameo? Because I think he has.
I personally do as well. Mike, go on.
It's a natural position. It's his natural position. Why, like you say, again, it all goes down to the balance within the team. If we had Doherty at right back or right wing back, that gives us the balance on the right hand side. If Vinicius is up top, that keeps Son over on the left hand side, which gives us that balance on the left hand side with Davis. And if we've got Vinicius, which he is the natural target man, the natural striker in that starting 11, well, what would be a starting 11 if he was there, then we've got good balance there. But what can you say? I mean,
words fell. Let me go through some of these comments, and it might make it easier for us to kind of at least, respond to some of these things here. So Pipe 71, referring to Jose, he's a relic. Charles saying, yes, I think he's done. Again, Charles, domestic trophy if you give him money. Well, we have to win a trophy. As we've all talked about, this whole way of playing, this whole standard of football, I think we've all agreed has not been good to watch. But I will bang on that drum again. We can't judge him until the end of the season. We can judge him game to game. On the last two performances as a manager, he hasn't done enough for me. I don't think the starting lineups have been good enough. I don't think the substitutions have been good enough, although he brought Vinicius on at half-time, which is probably the best thing, but why didn't he start is one of the reasons. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Another one here, Charles Williams said, see the drop-off from your side when Kane's missing. Now imagine if it had been out from 3 games of the season, like Van der Vaart had been. Well, no, because like I said, he's only been out 1 game and our form hasn't been good when Kane's been in there.
Exactly, yeah.
So what Kane does allow us to do is almost negate that number 10 because he kind of plays that as a 9 and a 10. So he does both roles well. His assists and goals prove that he does that well. When he isn't in the team and we don't have on Ndombele or Lo Celso, because remember, we haven't got, Lo Celso at the moment, it shows up. We are really exposed in our creativity. I wrote down here, lack of ideas. Where's the assist coming from if there's no Kane or Ndombele in a certain position, no Lo Celso? It's looking more and more silly on Jose's part that we're not having someone like Ali available. And yeah, he's saying he's injured. We all know that sort of he's injured sort of tag. He's probably on the sidelines waiting to see if he can make a move to PSG if all the rumors are to be believed. But we lack creativity. We do lack creativity. Sissoko doesn't have an ounce of technical ability. I'm not sure I would allow him to drive the coach. Well, we've all talked about Sissoko. He's a filler. Mike, he was going to say something. Go
on. I think it's quite noticeable at the moment, the fact that we do miss Lo Celso. I know when he's played, he's had a couple of games that have been hit and miss, but I think what he gives the team, 1, his work rate, 2, his creativity. I think we've missed that in the games that he hasn't played,
upgrade, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And with him, Højbjerg, and Ndombele, those 3 work well. But yeah, I mean, the sooner he gets back, the better for us from the creativity perspective. And like Darius just said, he's certainly an upgrade to Winks or Sissoko.
Well, that's what I mean. If you think about it like this, I think we were all crying for the 3 of, was it Højbjerg and Ndombele and Lo Celso? Yeah. I think it didn't work I can't remember what game it was for the life of me. It didn't work very well. But in this game, I think it could have worked with the fullbacks that we played because they were more defensive fullbacks. So if you're not going to really push your fullbacks on, then you can have a little bit more license to play slightly more attacking-minded centre mids. And again, I don't know what it is that we can do to change this because I don't see Jose changing anything. So again, I'm not going to judge these games on a game-by-game basis. I've kind of, like I said, I've mentally checked out of these games. But
he has to change it. Come on now. The players themselves they have meetings and they're going to have to decide. He's going to have to decide the personnel that starts these games. Jose, that's down to Jose. The personnel that he puts on are good enough at this level to perform against a team like Brighton. Sometimes the formation doesn't help them, but sometimes you've got players in there like Sanchez, like Sissoko, as a combination on that right side that wasn't going to work. We could all see that. I could see that from the very start. So that's where I would expect Jose to say to himself, you know what, that's not working. And he's done that in his previous roles and
Yeah.
he's changed things even before halftime. He's taken players off after 20 odd minutes. That was a prime thing for me today. You didn't need Sanchez and Sissoko on that side. Take one of them off, which would have been Sanchez, in my opinion. Go to a back four, put Vinicius on. And or you maybe think to yourself, do you change the formation in the midfield so you can have Ndombele playing a bit higher? So you might have to sacrifice Bergwijn or Bale for that. I think he's kind of stuck with this. Does he knock Bale's confidence? Does he knock Bergwijn? But
it's funny you say that. Speaking about Bale, can I just get your guys' opinion on his performance? Because you got hooked off obviously early. Do you think that was harsh, or do you think that it was kind of a given for the way that he performed?
I thought it was a bit harsh. I actually thought he looked quite lively today, and he looked like he was. It looked like there was a change in Bale insofar as he seemed more. There seemed to be a bit more urgency. Like he actually wanted to play football and he wanted to try and get a goal for Spurs, or try and get Spurs to sort of kickstart and get some momentum going in the match. Things didn't quite go his way, but I think that was probably more the fact that we weren't on our game, and Brighton, they just smothered us. Whenever we had the ball, they were just bang straight on us. If they weren't, quite often or not, they were doubling up on us, especially the second half. In
midfield, they flooded the midfield.
Yeah.
That Basuma, like you said, was always around somebody. He was always getting close to Ndombele, and he would have to beat one or two players. Now we don't mind seeing.
I would love him in our midfield. That would be amazing.
It's all right having Ndombele to beat one player and then being on the back line, but when you're having to beat Basuma and then it was Gross after that, and then he's got to then face the back line as well, he's going to be very difficult. And what I think lacked as well, because of the creativity that we didn't have, Bale looked a lot worse than he probably was. He didn't get enough service. Did he do enough when he had the ball? Well, this is the point where we're all expecting Gareth Bale to then get the ball and beat one or two players, cross the ball in, bang, goal. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. But we have to also play to his strengths.
Exactly.
I don't think we've played enough to his strengths. And Son was almost non-existent for me today. Playing in that central role, he can fill that role, and he's done well in the past when Kane's been out. But you want to see Kane on that. Sorry, Kane. You want to see Son on that right side, getting the ball, picking it up, driving at people, causing havoc. And on the other side, Bale doing exactly the same. And then
Bale could have been that centre forward today, couldn't he? Starting, and now you say that.
But Vinicius, from what I saw in bits in that second half, he was strong. He was there. He had an aerial presence. He's got a direct presence as well. He was pressing from the front. He had that shot, which was well saved by their keeper late on in the game. So all those little things, to me, in a 45-minute spell, tells me that this guy should be given more of a chance. We have to kind of revolve around it.
Yeah, and there's definitely there's something about him. He just needs to be 100%. Given. We need more. 45 minutes. He can't do much in 45 minutes. Not really.
Can you say that any other player did more than him in the 45 minutes that he was on the pitch? I think he did a lot in that 45, more than a lot of players can count themselves for. So no, you're 100% right. He's always seeming to do something that's making me think, if you give him a little bit more time, he might be the person to unlock something.
Give him an hour at least.
Yeah, we've got another comment here. So Julian Golly saying Spurs' performance today was horrible. They're lost without Kane. The performance was horrible. I'm hoping that we're not lost without Kane. But Kane, when you've got the numbers that Kane has this season, he's definitely one of our most important players. But it's the lack of creativity. The lack of creativity today was so apparent. And the lack of ability to change the game or to change how the formation, seeing how Brighton were playing, because you saw that from the first few minutes, how Brighton were going to approach this game. You know, they were getting around the numbers. And when you've only got two in midfield, as I keep saying, and one of them, as Hojbjerg, is trying to drop back further, you basically got one in midfield as Ndombele. As much as I love Ndombele as a player, in a two, I don't think he's as effective.
It works if he's got Aurier and Reguilon as fullbacks and we're playing a 3-4-3. It doesn't work if you've got Sissoko and Ben Davies, because you're leaving too much responsibility for him.
Yeah, you're right in that, Spence.
We missed Reguilon as well today, massively.
Yeah,
I mean, we've missed in the last couple of games, massively. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, like, where a lot of the Spurs fans are saying, the team that we've got, they're not good enough, etc. But I think that a few of the players today, I'd say half that squad probably, in an ideal world, there'd be squad players whereby you might only have to bring one or two of them on in a game like this.
Mm.
But
what I have noticed though is, especially football now, I understand Sissoko has a role, he works hard, but I think it's more useful having a replacement player who can play a position quite, maybe not as well as your starter, but who is used to playing in that position. For example, when we get Sessegnon back and Skip back, if we lose Højbjerg or if we lose Reguilón in that starting 11, those two players fill the roles that they're meant to be a lot more precisely than a Sissoko would if he played at right back. So it's kind of, do you see where I'm coming from? If you've got players that can sort of directly fill the positions in, your second choice players, you can have a lot more continuity in that starting 11, because filling players, like I said, with this whole filler player thing and putting Sissoko in random positions, it just disrupts the balance, as we've all said. And that's what's really caused this result to be so poor, because we've not looked like we've been able to create anything in that second half.
Do you think that Jose's maybe taken some of the confidence away from some of these players? Because at the beginning of the season, when we did make all those signings and we got Reguilón in and we got Bale in and Doherty was signed up, and we looked and we thought, yeah, we've got Hart, who's a backup keeper. We all thought to ourselves, I certainly did. I thought this is a strong enough squad. Even if we lost that player, this player can come in. If we lost that player, this player at least can fill in. Obviously, with the Kane, Son are two players that I don't think you replace, and that's quite obvious. But when I think about, Højbjerg, I also think that, Winks could maybe come in and do that for a few games. Not to say he's at the level of Højbjerg, but be able to come in and do a job. Sissoko, again, he can come in and do a job if we're missing a player. On the right-sided, defence, Aurier and Doherty performing for places. You'd thought, those two, Aurier on his day can be really good. Doherty, as we know, played really, really well for seasons upon seasons for Wolves. Left side, Ben Davies, reliable, dependable player. You've got Reguilón, who, as we all can see, is a very attack-minded player, very good on the ball, very good in possession. So you kind of think, although you don't want to lose these players for months on end, you think, there's enough to kind of. And today, that was my thoughts. There was enough in. We're missing Reguilón. I know we're missing Lo Celso. I can see that. We've got obviously missing Kane, but some of these players, you can't tell me matching them up one against the Brighton lineup today were not good enough to get a result.
Well, that's where the tactics come in, isn't it? That's where you have to look at the tactics
100%
from both managers. And Graham Potter, as you said, Sam, got it spot on. He saw that the midfield was where we were going to basically have most of our attacking play, because our fullbacks just weren't going to get forward. And as soon as he recognized that, he put about 4 players in midfield. He basically had Bissouma run that midfield with a few cronies to help him out, be all around him. And that's what won him the game. And that's the difference. If your team isn't performing quality-wise to the expectation that they should do against a team that you would think is inferior, you leave it to the tactics, and that's going to be the difference maker. And as we clearly saw today, one manager got his tactics right, and one manager didn't change anything and just thought quality was going to win. And quality didn't win.
It wasn't even... Sorry, I was going to say, it wasn't even so much that he thought quality was going to win. I don't think Jose set the players up well enough, even after changing it at half time, to any effect that was going to be more positive for them. Bringing on a substitution, right, making substitution is great, changing the personnel, but also recognizing where they were winning the game. They still bossed the game in the midfield in the second half. They still bossed it. Because we didn't have that balance. We still had on Dembele and Højbjerg playing deeper, and Højbjerg kept on dropping back into that number, in the centre-back role.
And why was he doing that when we were playing 3 at the back? That's what I didn't get.
That's what I'm saying. He was doing that when we were playing 3 and doing that, obviously, when we were playing 2. And because we didn't have that number 10, like I said, if it was Harry Kane, it's a different matter, because he can pick that ball up, turn, and find somebody. I didn't see Bergwijn do enough of that. I didn't obviously see Son do enough of that. And Bale didn't do that in the first half anyway. So then when we changed it in the second half, it was like, oh, well, where's the creativity going to come from?
Would you... Well, it just wasn't, was there? A question to you, would you bring Skip back from loan? Would you recall him and get rid of Jedson?
I think they
Jedson's
approached him. Jedson's gone. They approached Skip.
Is he actually gone?
Galatasaray signed him, yeah.
Skip said, and this is only, again, reports, that Skip was offered the chance to come back, but he didn't want to come back. He wanted to continue playing all the time at Norwich to develop himself. And I respect that. And you can't argue with that because he's doing well. When he comes back next season, there will be competition with him and Højbjerg. And I'm hoping that will really push Højbjerg on a little bit, but also gives us that ability to have somebody else who really can take his place. Because I'm just thinking now, if that player gets injured, given what we've got now, we are in some serious problems. I'll ask you both a question. Do we need to do something in the window? And there's still this strong rumor with regards to Eriksen. Do we need to do something with regards to a player to bring in the January transfer window by tomorrow?
Yeah, 100%.
Who would you suggest?
I think it's quite clear.
Not who, what position? Yeah, what position would you suggest?
Centre back and a centre midfielder.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I had to make a choice, if we were to only get one, for me, it would be an attacking midfielder. I don't mind. I don't care if we don't get an attacking midfielder. I think we need a centre midfielder of quality to match Højbjerg. And I think a centre back would help more because I'm losing faith with a couple centre backs. I mean, Sanchez is just not good enough.
Couple more comments here. Sorry to interrupt you, Darius. Nico saying, no, you don't have a squad. Mourinho needs 2 first teams to win the league in the Prem. Nico again saying creativity is not Spud's thing.
It's not Mourinho's thing.
Squad is not a problem. Whatever we do in the window, we'll play like Stoke. So people are saying it doesn't matter what Jose does. He's not going to change his style of play. This pragmatic style, again, we all kind of say that. And again, we have to look at the long game of it. At the end of this season, as I've said, if we won the League Cup and were low half of the league, I would accept it. It's not to say I'll be celebrating from the rooftop, say that's been a fantastic, brilliant season. But as I said, I want a trophy. If you can see a development in terms of, right, we've got this player in and we know that he could possibly do that going forward, I'd accept that. But if we come away, as we've talked about, with nothing, then we are going to have some serious questions asked about how can this continue going forward. And I said, I don't think it would continue going forward. Another comment from here from Mr. B. No point in buying attacking players. Jose doesn't use them properly. So everybody is kind of on this Jose thing. He doesn't really see any changes in the style of play that we are approaching.
I think it's so funny how everyone's so... this Jose thing it's not going to change. We just have to basically wait until the end of the season, I think we're talking so many hypotheticals. It really doesn't matter what we say because I don't think it's going to change.
Do you not think, though, that given the results and given... It's a strange season because there was a lot of strange results over the last few rounds of the Premier League. And the funniest thing is we still got a game in hand over some of the teams. And, yeah, to win our game in hand, it could possibly do something. But we're playing again on Thursday now against Chelsea. That's not going to be an easy game. So we are in danger if we don't start picking up these points that, the shuffling of this can start happening again and we could really drop. But, again, will Jose be saying, well, in his head, we're in a final, we're still in the cups. Maybe I'm going to... And I said this before. Is he going to now just concentrate on these cups as his priority to win something this season?
Me personally, I don't think he'll think like that. I think he'll want to win every game he goes into. I think he will want to win that. It's just it's in his nature, isn't it? To that competitiveness in him. But
did you think in the last 2 games that we looked like we were urgent enough to want to win these games, considering we went down in both these games in terms of not scoring the first goal? We didn't look urgent enough, not at Liverpool, and certainly again not today. We didn't look urgent enough, like we wanted to really win this until it's like 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, we've all played football at various levels, whatever. You don't even if you think, we're going into a hard game here, you're not going to go in not to try and win that game, are you? So I don't think. I think Mourinho, we're going in to try and win every game. I don't think he wants to be. I think he wants top 4. I think that would be the aim for him. Obviously, whether it's a cup, whether it's 2 cups, whatever it might be, I think obviously in terms of what we try to win, I think the aim would be the cups. League, I think Man City and Liverpool are now just starting to come into their own in that respect. But I still think top 4 is more than achievable, especially when the likes of Leicester are losing. West Ham lost today. I know they're not
Makes it even
considered a
more
top.
infuriating, though, doesn't it? Though, because
Well, this is it. So
it's very infuriating. I'll just give you the stats from today's game. So possession-wise, Brighton 43%, Spurs 57, 16 shots to 8, 5 on target to 4, 9 corners to 2, 11 fouls each. Now, the possession stats is surprising, but actually, if you think about it, it's not that surprising because they, again, allowed us to have the ball. Once they scored, they didn't really have to have a load of possession. Why have it when you can defend like they did and get numbers around you to make sure that we don't have any threat going forward? So the stats thing in terms of the possession-wise is neither here nor there for me. What is the big thing for me is the shots. 16 shots to 8. And those 8 shots, I don't really remember many of them where, apart from the Vinicius one, where the guy tipped it around a cup, touched it around a post. I'm trying to think what other real threat did we have that you think, oh, that was unlucky. Oh, we should have scored that. That was I don't remember. I can't remember. And I'm honest with you, that's where I'm like and that comes down to creativity. You know,
that's
we
not
weren't
down to the players, I don't think either.
No,
I
it's
think
not.
There was
but
enough players on that pitch to create more than 4 shots on target.
There was certainly enough in there. But again, were they helped with how the players that are going to create for us, and there was only probably 2 or 3 today that I really thought were going to be in that creation zone. One of them was Ndombele, playing too deep. Gareth Bale and Son, if I'm honest with you. I don't think there's any other player on that pitch today that was really going to light us up creativity-wise. Lamela, Mora, no. Our wing-backs, full-backs, whatever you want to call them, no. Ben Davies is not going to be bombing down, throwing crosses, and he's not a Robertson. You know what I mean? He's not doing that. Sissoko isn't even a right-back. Is he even good enough to be in the team? That's debatable. But again, certainly not going to be a wing-back doing all those sort of things. So, yeah, we're struggling from a creativity point of view. That's the one here. This 5 shots a game thing is horrible. Even if we win a trophy, we won't build on anything. Nothing here is a sign of building a budding contender. Will be another 2008. Premier Hotspur TV, welcome. Evening, guys. Yeah, WTF, did we watch? These are absolutely a joke, and these players are letting Jose down, and so the board are not giving Jose top players. We can say that about the board, but again, when the manager comes out and says, yep, we've given the circumstances, I've got what I need, it's then up to him to get the best out of these players. And
we've got isolating players.
We've got a real creative player in Dele Alli. He might not be everybody's cup of tea in terms of a work ethic and whatever it is, but you know what I mean? He can do something on a pitch, a playground type footballer who will pop up, do something that nobody's expecting him to do and give us an opportunity. And it does.
It sounds so bad because this is what Arsenal are doing with Ozil. When you're so desperate because there's nothing that you're wanting a player who we know that hasn't been that good when he's been on the pitch. It's just, we just need to change the way we approach games. That's all I can say, really.
Yeah. And with Dele Alli, he gives you 10 to 15 goals a season. So why is it, if he can do that in the Premier League, why is he not in that team? Isn't it? That almost, it's like that pressure of Kane and Son getting goals has relieved a little bit because you've got the likes of Dele Alli popping up, knocking in, say, 10 goals a season, which he's easily done that in the previous seasons. And then, like, the other midfielders then sort of chip in, like your Ndombeles, etc.
So what we're going to see is tomorrow at the close of this window will tell us a couple of things. One, if we do let Ali go, we would have to have a replacement. And obviously these rumors I keep saying about this Eriksen thing, if they start gathering pace, and I think we need to watch tomorrow to see what happens. But if we have no incomings, and let's say we do keep Ali, we are going to have to utilize him. I do not think they can keep that player out in the cold for the rest of the season. It would be a travesty. It would really be something that I would look at as being bad management, because Jose can do that to players, but he did that to Ndombele, but he brought him back into the fold. He will, as you said, Mike, he will have to bring Dele Alli back into the fold if we go through tomorrow with no movement. Just saying on that, what do you think about the game? Again, he's injured. He's got this. Again, he's still injured. And it's that injury where you don't really talk about the injury. You just say he's injured to get the press off your back. And That's the sort of injury he's got. I don't believe. Again, we can surmise here, we can make assumptions, we can do all kinds of things, but I don't believe that there's an injury per se to Dele Alli that's warranted him being out of the squad for the length of time he's been out of the squad. I just really think that tomorrow's going to be a real make or break day for Spurs in terms of what we're going to do going forward, because we've got Thursday coming up and we're playing Chelsea. Thoughts on that game, guys?
Let's.
I don't know.
You know, I don't know. They're doing okay. They've got a new manager, but it's one of those things where Chelsea, the way Tuchel likes to play, he likes to control games. He likes to keep as much possession as he can. So it's going to be a horrible game to watch. We will not have the ball for the majority of that game. We might sneak a win, but again, if you wanna go game to game, it's going to be a painful one. I'm not thinking game to game anymore. I'm thinking end game now. That's my mentality now.
End game indeed. I got to read out a few more comments. Mr. B, creative players aren't Jose's cup of tea. He prefers roll up sleeve and get stuck in type players. Do you think he can coach attacking players? Well, at Chelsea, in terms of the goals scored, at Real Madrid, in terms of the goals scored, it appears that he possibly can, or is it just the players? That's one thing that has been labelled. Is it the players that creates the attacking style for Jose, or is it Jose himself? As it stands at the moment, we don't see much attacking threat in certain games, and yeah, we are relying on these players. Next comment here, Premier Hotspur TV. Well, Jose won't come out and say the board ain't backing him, and if they sack him, who in their right frame of mind will come to us in the mess we are in the moment? Premier Hotspur TV, I kind of disagree with some of that, because I think our club, what we've got in terms of the fan base, our new stadium, the setup in terms of being able to training facilities, etc., is really a massive bonus for anybody to come into. There's a number of managers around the world that I think we could definitely attract.
We're a project club, aren't we? We have to get that diamond in the rough, don't we?
That's what I was going to say. Somebody that you'd bring in would have to then be another Poch type project, and Spurs have done that on a number of times with a number of managers and not won anything. I think that's the biggest thing. So that's why I can say the board have done the right thing in a sense, because they wanted somebody to come in and win us something and then maybe rebuild from that perspective.
I don't think we're in a mess. Like you say, we've got good foundation from the board, and people might criticize Levy and whatnot, but name me a better chairman in the Premier League than him, in terms of where he's taken us from the days of Alan Sugar to where we are now. I don't think anyone can criticize him, because I think he's done wonders with us in terms of what he's built. So we've got the foundations. It's just we've just got to find that missing cog in our team just to kickstart us, really.
Yeah. Levy kind of really sold himself well in that Amazon documentary. He came across a lot better and more approachable than he's ever done before. You know, sometimes we had them shots of him where he's got that thunder face in the crowd when he's looking and seeing things. He just looked like Dr. Doom. But the Amazon thing really done a lot for him. And also the summer transfer window that we had, I had no complaints. Given the situation.
It was only a centre-back that we really wanted, but that was asking for a bit much, wasn't it?
That was asking for a lot. We had everything we really wanted. From an attacking perspective, we had the players that we wanted. From a midfield perspective, we had the players. We had Lo Celso, we had Ndombele, we had Højbjerg, as has proved to be one of the best signings. You know, what we might look back and think is, as you said, Darius, is that centre-back, because that now it looks like it's proven to be a little bit more of a problem than I anticipated. But I've seen the problem being that some of them players are just not good enough.
And also, you're gonna be charged your 60 millions for centre backs that you want to see an impact. If you want to see an immediate impact from a centre back, 60 million. Like I said, if you look at Ruben Diaz, if you look at Van Dijk, if you look at those sort of centre backs who you know are going to come in and make a difference, you're going to be paying a lot. And in this market, I wasn't expecting a lot. But again, we have this crazy defensive manager, and we're still leaking goals. I know we've got a decent defensive record. I know it used to be better, but again, I struggle to kind of have sympathy for Jose. That it's hard, because he builds himself off of his defenses, and he has a player in Kane who was basically, we can say that he was kind of getting him out of jail because he was creating and scoring for him. So now, as a coach, these are the times that you test and you see if a coach has really got what it takes. And he's lost a couple players. We've seen what Klopp's done. I know Klopp's been a moany bastard for the past 3 months, but he has got his team through it pretty well. I mean, if we had lost our two main players, if we had lost Kane and Son, like they lost, I don't know, Alisson and Van Dijk earlier on in the season, we'd be in trouble. I'll tell you that for sure. We'd be in trouble.
So the one positive, it's not a positive, and I'm going to ask you a few things before. Let's just see if there's any more comments come through first. We've got a couple of new people here. So Lamps here says, Jose is con artist since 2014. He traps clubs in contracts and gets payout for himself and his team who create PR like Amazon documentary. Jose's about Jose. We all know that. What I would say about Jose, though, is he's experienced enough and he's a winner. He has got the CV to back up everything that he does. What he now has to show me, and I think to a lot of Spurs fans, is he has changed. He has now lost this, well, I'm going to do this my way, and I'm now going to not blame all the players, and I'm not going to throw my toys out the pram, and I'm going to throw people under buses. He's got to now show that there is some sort of change. And the experiences, I'm glad that we have him in terms of an experience, but he has to now use his experience well to show us as fans that he can change things. He can make a difference.
Yeah, and I think he can. I mean, let's be honest. From my perspective, I suppose I can see Mourinho turning things around. He's capable of doing that. He can draw on the experience of all the clubs that he's managed before, and he's been in certain situations whereby he's had a hard time and he's managed to turn things around and he's gone on to be successful. So there's no, and it's the other thing, if he can win a Champions League and if he can do the treble with Porto, etc., then surely he must be able to do something with us and make us successful. Okay, maybe not to the extent of winning the Champions League, but getting those sort of domestic cups that we all sort of crave for as Spurs fans.
A lot of people would say to that, though, Mike, is they think he's washed up. They think he's past his sell-by date. The Manchester United thing that he had kind of showed his true colours in terms of how he exited the club, I guess. He kind of did throw a lot of people, as I said, under the bus, fell out with the board, and it really became a little bit toxic there. But Man United was a different thing. We've just got a few more comments coming in. We've got some new people here. So welcome, Drew Manuel. He is past. His CV is like 7 years old. Premier Hotspur TV. Levy has the club at heart and has done a great job and brought a fantastic stadium and training grounds to the club. I think Jose wanted the top defender in the summer, but Jose, the man, still. Yeah. Drew, he's disliked football since 2014. He just wants payout. I'm not quite sure. I think Jose wants to leave a legacy for himself.
I disagree with that. I do disagree with that, only because don't forget, this job is just as important for him as it is for Tottenham. Like, his reputation is on the line. Like, if he doesn't win anything with Spurs,
100%.
Granted, we are Spurs and Spursy and no trophies, whatever. Granted, if Jose doesn't win a trophy, he ain't getting a big job. I don't think he'll get a big job again, or definitely not in the Premier League. He might get a job abroad, but in the Premier League, it'll be done. And people will look at Jose's career and they won't look back 15 years and think 2005 Chelsea winning the league. They'll think back 5 years. And even if you think back 5 years, that's almost Man U time. So,
yeah. And the thing is, he's only 55, isn't he? So he's not senile or anything.
He's 58.
He's still relatively young as a manager.
He's 58, not 55. He was 58 the other day, a couple of days ago. The reason I know, yeah. So he's not, like he said, there's older managers in the Premier League, a lot older managers than him. So that's not a problem. But do you think, given, I'm going to ask you guys probably to wrap this up now, but what I'll say is, if you both give me your thoughts on today, performance-wise, manager, and also then looking forward to the game on Thursday. Darius, do you want to start that?
Yeah. I'll keep it nice and simple. Bad performance, got outdone in every aspect of the game, I think. Manager-wise, players on the pitch, effort, everything. But again, I'm not going to get angry anymore at individual games. I think it will drain me too much at the end of the season. I will genuinely have grey hair. If I get angry at each and one of these games for the next,
Drink
15.
a beer.
You
Drink
know
a
what I
beer
mean?
or two.
I'll be drinking more than beer, man. Honestly, like it's one of those. It's just I'm not gonna look at individual games anymore because I just don't think it's good for my mental. So I'm gonna take it how it is, see what happens at the end of the season. And my only thing is Jose's not making it any better for himself if he doesn't win anything and he plays like this, as opposed to if he doesn't win anything and he plays in a different way, he might be able to kind of save himself. I even think now, if he wins that League Cup and he still plays the way we are and we drop down the table, he might not have his job. Maybe. I wouldn't want him to if he continues to play like this. Let me say that.
Fair dues. Mike?
To be fair, I think Darius has wrapped it up for all of us with that. I don't think there's anything more I can add to that. Yeah, I think Darius has pretty much hit it with the nail on the head. I honestly don't think I can add anything more to that. But yeah, there literally is nothing further for me to say. I think Darius has wrapped it up quite well.
I'll take that.
Yeah, what I will say is tomorrow is important. Tomorrow, and it's important for two reasons for me. Not just because, you know, seeing who we bring in and who we leave out or who goes from the squad, but what he then does with the players that are going to remain. You know, as I said, if there is no outgoings tomorrow and Dele Alli still is a Spurs player come the close of the transfer window,
which I think he will be.
Because I don't think Levy wants him to go and certainly doesn't want him to go to anywhere in the Premier League. So he's not going to do that. We need to ensure that the squad is utilised from that creative aspect. I know we've got injuries. Ndombele walked off today, looked like he was injured. He's a sort of player that I think, you know what, this team's not playing that well. I don't know if I really want to play. So he might be that sort. I hope that attitude doesn't come out, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's out for a couple of games. So Thursday is going to be a tough challenge. And tomorrow, close of this transfer window, we'll see what we bring in. If nothing, we need to then galvanize the players that haven't been playing and ensure that we, and this is Jose's job. I say we, I keep saying that. It's not my job to make sure. It's Jose's job. It's Jose's, the management team, to make sure these players are wanted and are given an opportunity. Vinicius not starting today was a crime for me.
Wrong.
I think he showed enough in the 45 minutes to say to me and to, I think, you guys, that he should have started, and he's got something about him that, given a run of games, could alleviate the problem of Kane for at least a couple of weeks. Before we then wrap up, there's just a couple more comments out here. So Luna King, we're warned not to sign Jose, and you were warned too. Anyways, enjoy frustration. You can't fire him. He's in a trap with contracts. This is going to be a problem if we are. Your club don't have funds like United, Chelsea, or Madrid to survive. Mourinho, toxic behaviour. I think that given the situation in all clubs at the moment, I don't think we're going to have a lot of movement in the transfer window.
The only thing I say to that is, though, we've got assets. So, like, that's the good thing about Spurs. We know how to build assets, and Ndombele now looks like a brand new asset that could go for like £100 million if he carries on playing like he is.
Yeah, Luna King again. We United fans can tell you what he will do next. Kill players' confidence in his next target. Have fans against players. Premier Hotspur TV. Nice one, guys. See you again. Thank you, Hotspur TV. See you again soon as well. There's some comments here. A lot of people, again, going from the experience from their old clubs at Man United. So they're looking at, and I said they're a different club to us. Their expectations are a lot higher than us. As I keep saying, if Jose just won the League Cup, which he did for Man United, and the Europa, which he did and got him into the Champions League, that isn't enough for a team like Man United. I would be over the moon this season if that's what we achieved. I won't tell a lie. I'll be singing, screaming, dancing, and anything like that. But again, we also have to balance up with the fact that our style of play, given we don't win anything at the end of the season, there will need to be some.
There's no reason to keep him, is there?
And there is no reason to keep him. You're right, gentlemen. I've had enough. I've had enough.
You've got to do it all over again, mate. Don't worry. We've got Chelsea. We've got Chelsea next. I wanted to win this game, so at least if we lost to Chelsea, I could be a little bit, do you know what I mean? A little bit more calm. But nah, mate. Wrap this up so we can go and
we have to put a performance in.
Drown our sorrows.
Result-wise, we need a result, obviously. But I would almost take a loss. No, I hate saying that. I wouldn't take a loss because that's not right. But what I want to see is a performance. I just want to see these guys go out and show us they really want to win this game. I don't think they did enough to win this game. And obviously we didn't win the game. So yeah, let's just see what happens come tomorrow with the transfer window and then Thursday. So I'll see you guys, I guess, for the preview show and the post-match reaction show later on this week. It's going to be hard watch, but we've got to stick at it. We've got to stick with this team. We've got to stick with the manager. We've got no choice. And we judge everything at the end of the season, but makes these game to game makes them harder and harder.
God.
Gentlemen, Mike, Darius, see you guys later.
See you later.